60 years.
60. So actually, it's 60, 63, 64.
Wow.
They've never been in the Super Bowl, and this is as close as they've gotten in a very, very long time.
That's insane. So he's a huge football fan and also baseball. So he knows some crazy stats about baseball that is insane.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because since when you were little, you actually you collected cards.
I collected cards. I studied the back of. You get the baseball cards,
Okay.
and then you would just look at the back of them, and I would just study the stats. That's all I did. So I know some obscure stuff, which I can't. If you ask me, if you put me on the spot and say, "Give me an obscure stat right now," I can't do that. But I knew some very strange things. I mean, I can tell you how many stolen bases Rusty Staub had in 1974.
Oh.
And that's nobody knows who even that is.
So the only things I know some Italian American players were really, really good back then.
Mike Piazza,
Yeah.
yeah, and
But DiMaggio was not Was he a baseball player?
yeah, DiMaggio played in the 40s and early 50s.
Yeah.
His brother was also Dom DiMaggio was very good. Wasn't as good as Joe, but they had for a brother combination. You could argue the DiMaggios were the best brother combination in baseball history.
Yeah, but I think they were immigrants, correct? Son of.
They were first generation Americans, I think. Their parents were immigrants.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow! You know there were so many, especially in that area in New York. Many first-generation Americans became successful in the years to come.
Yeah, well, look at the mayor, LaGuardia.
Oh yeah.
Who eventually named an airport after him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's New York is rich. I have a neighbor down the street, 3 houses down, who's Italian. His last name is Amatuccio, and his brother died in 9/11, and he's very proud Italian immigrant. I think he's first generation. He aligns with my philosophy on life. He very direct, straightforward. You don't have to worry about what you're saying around him.
Okay.
You can't bust each other's chops. He's my favorite. He's the only neighbor I really get along with, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys
That's
think
crazy. Yeah, no, we're good. We're rolling already.
Well,
Yeah.
we gotta say hi.
Well, say hi.
Welcome everybody. Wow, this is
We have a special guest today. Is Russ.
welcome
and
in. Thank you for joining us
Well,
today.
thank you for the invite. I'm looking forward to this.
Of
He's
course.
a man of deep wisdom and common sense that today is not too common. So
Yeah, that's
Appreciate
true.
that. Well, I guess that'll the proof is in the pudding. We'll see what happens.
Will be fun. So, would you like maybe to say something about you at the beginning, like Don said for?
It doesn't matter. This is your show. I'm going with the flow.
yeah,
Okay.
sure. So you're from Detroit.
Right.
And I believe you're one of the best people. I know very little about Detroit other than it was really famous for car manufacturing back in the past.
And
And
Eminem.
it was really like the apex, one of the top cities in the United States. However, the last decades or so has been in absolute decay. And because all those manufacturing jobs have been moved out either to Mexico or to other countries. So how do you remember Detroit back then?
Yeah, I have a from my perspective. Now I don't usually reveal this, and there's a vanity to me that I don't like revealing.
Oh, well, you're certainly proud to be from Detroit.
And I'm proud from being from Detroit. I'll be 62 this year, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
Because I look in the mirror and I go, "What happened to the last 40 years?"
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, don't tell me.
It was
Be
a
quiet about
secret.
this. It's a secret. And but with that being said, my age allows me to have experienced Detroit in a very unique time.
Yeah.
Because if I was older, I would have been post-war, World War II.
Yeah, yeah.
If I was younger, I would be into the. Thank you. I'd be into the maybe the new generation, more of a what do you call it? A gentrification of Detroit.
Yeah.
When I was a child growing up in the, let's just say, the mid '70s, and getting out and about and doing my thing, Detroit was just coming off the riots of '68, and so you had mass exodus of white people, and you had mass exodus when you lose the tax base.
Yes.
you lose schools. And when you lose schools, you lose families because people are not going to go there if there's no schools. If you lose families, you lose grocery stores because nobody's buying groceries. And it's just this horrible spiral of decay. I used to say if you go to downtown Detroit, Detroit's like a spoke of a wheel. There's a center, and then all these major streets spoke out. That's how it's supposed to have been designed.
Yeah.
You go down to Detroit back in 1975 and shoot a cannon in downtown Detroit, and I promise you would hit nothing. There was nobody down there. It's changed dramatically recently in the last 10, 12 years. So I grew up in an era that Detroit was in arguably the greatest decay it will ever see, and the greatest downfall of an American city you may ever see. So for me to see it bouncing back, I'm awfully proud of that. And it's a different clientele now. There's different people moving in, artists, sculptors. It becomes much more artsy than it was.
Yeah.
Less blue collar. But Detroit, when I was growing up, was you tell it like it is. If somebody gives you a hard time, you give it back. And you don't back down. And I think, Benito, you know me pretty well.
Yeah.
That's how I am now.
But
It's
you could
ingrained.
say that the auto industry was like the backbone of the American manufacturing back then.
Yeah, it was. And it was the, not to correct you, but it was the automobile manufacturing hub of the world.
Of the world.
Of the world.
Wow.
So you had GM, Ford, Chrysler. And then back in the 70s, the Japanese started taking over Honda, Toyota. And that's when you started seeing. So you not only had the riots, you had the manufacturing disappearing because of the foreign automakers. So then you're losing jobs.
Also, it was because of foreign automakers, or because there has been an exodus of those jobs exported somewhere else?
It was more because of foreign automakers coming in, and basically a Toyota Camry, Corolla, I'm not sure what was being manufactured back then, was a lot cheaper and lasted a lot longer than a Ford Escort.
Oh, wow.
So they were buying these Toyotas, and which people were being laid off from the Ford plant, from the GM plant, from the Chrysler plant, so then they left. The exodus, that contributed to the exodus because they now were leaving the city to find another job. Detroit was founded on the manufacturing of automobiles. People came there because of manufacturing.
Well, yeah.
That's why it grew to over 1.5 million people, because all my relatives went there for one reason: manufacturing. So the car industry is still huge. You still have the world headquarters of Ford. Still have world headquarters of Chrysler and GM. It's still very, very large. It's just not. It's not the monopoly it once was. But to their credit, like Detroit, it bounced back. It said, you know what? We're not prepared. We rested on our laurels too long. We produced crap. Cars when I was growing up, a brand new 1975 Ford was crap. So
especially safety feachers.
Oh,
were absent.
very much so. No technology. You would literally. What I always found compelling is that you would, where the air conditioning knob is, or maybe the vent, the writing on there would rub off after a time. That's how poorly the cars were manufactured.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So the tires were horrible. They put the cheapest tires on there. Suspensions were rust. They would just rust out. The cars would. You don't see too many rusty cars nowadays. Back in the day, you would have cars that would be going down the highway. You could literally see through the door.
Oh, wow.
And that's changed. And they rose to the challenge, again, like Detroit. And they're manufacturing, I believe, some of the most quality vehicles in the world right now. There's issues. I have a Ford Bronco.
What year?
It's 2000. This is 24, so I'm getting a new one this year. So it's 2021.
Nice. That's a nice car.
It is, and I'll get another one. So that goes to show you.
Yeah.
So
do you have the roof?
No,
the
we don't
opens?
have that. That's we have two actually. My wife has one also.
Okay.
So I don't have the take-off roofs. I'm not sure what you call those, but the
I don't know.
Yeah. We had those on a Jeep once. and we never used them.
Oh, okay.
So
Makes sense.
why pay the extra money?
Yeah.
So when did you come here?
I came to Minnesota in, oh wow, I get asked this question a lot, and I don't really, probably should think more about it. 22 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, a long time.
What
Yeah.
was the main reason?
Job transfer. I had a job,
Oh.
came here for the job, lost that job. And at that time, kids were being established in schools and whatnot. So we stayed. And then, frankly, I went through a divorce. And my kids were still here. So
Okay.
then I met somebody else, the love of my life. If you're listening to this in the future.
Woo!
Yeah, she's wonderful. And she has two
Awesome.
kids, so I have stepkids. So
Nice.
I planted my feet.
Your roots.
That's
My
awesome.
Yeah.
roots are here now, and it's still, Benito, you and I have talked about this. I find Minnesota to be a bit of an odd environment in comparison to Detroit, but I'm here.
Yeah, for some reason. Well, you say I came into United States in 2010, and I married an American. So I went through the whole legal process of how to become a United States citizen. Of course, it was easier because I married an American. So, but still, I had to go through a 6 months visa, a 2-year visa, a 10-year visa, and then after 3 years, I could become a citizen. So I became a citizen, and same thing. I divorced, and now I have 2 kids, and it's here. Talking about Minnesota, though, the thing that I found difficult was that I don't know if it's there's a resemblance with Nordic societies in Europe, where people are not warm characters or personalities. And I found it more difficult to make friends here than when I was living in Arizona, for example. Because in Arizona, you had the sun. Most of the population are Mexican Americans, warmer blood, very similar to Southern Italy, where I'm from. So I found it easier to make friends and people. Instead here, I found it difficult because people are mostly already established in their family nucleus or the same friends from childhood. So it's very tight environment. Everybody's already set, and there's a difficulty to try to make friends.
To break in.
To break it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I would agree with that. And it was a big struggle. I think for me, the biggest struggle was the personality differences. Now, I don't want to make a blanket statement.
No.
They're
But I don't
different
know,
people. I
don't know
mean,
if it's a Midwest thing.
It is a Midwest thing, but I do know that there is a tendency that it seems as if there's a tendency for people to hunker down here and not really go outside their circle. And I find that in maybe the Nordic personality, the makeup is one that is difficult to get through. They're very close to their chest with their emotions, and where I'm from, we're the opposite of that. If I don't like you, I'll just say, look, you need to stay away. I don't like you.
Damn, that's harsh. Woo.
here people try to be nice anyway, and not tell you what's going on.
Right.
And especially like when you came here when you were like 40, right?
About 40, about that, yeah.
Yeah, the same, like you were 30 or 28.
I was 27.
Okay.
Let's be precise.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but like when you get to this age, like 40, for example, most of the people around, they have families established. So
You're right.
I can agree on that, but maybe it will be easier coming when you're 19, for example, or you still go to school.
It might be. It might be. That's actually a very good point. And I don't look at it as a... the toughest thing for me was just... arguably the toughest thing for me was trying to... I told you I lost the job that I came here for. There was no network.
Yes.
So I didn't have a network.
Yeah.
So trying to find a job, and then you have people that perhaps as a whole are a bit reserved with their revelations and what they're feeling and what they're thinking. So it's constantly like, I don't know, I can't read this. And I consider myself very good at reading people. I'm thinking, I can't read this. Did I get this job? Did I not get this job? Are you my friend? Are you not my friend? Sometimes it's very difficult to figure that out.
That's true.
Yeah, but overall, we've adapted, and the older have gotten, the more I don't like the cold. But
This winter was good though.
it was a good winter, wasn't it?
Yeah, so far.
So far.
So far,
So far.
I don't plan on moving anywhere. We talked about, when the kids are older, that we might have to downsize, but we don't plan on doing that for a while.
So in Detroit, you were a police officer.
Yeah, I was, yes.
And for how long?
Well, police and security work total about 18 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
How was that?
I loved
Back
it.
in the day.
It was fantastic. It's
Okay.
You know what? I really believe being a police officer is arguably the noblest profession and the most misunderstood.
That's true.
I think most people have no idea. I think most people, if when I was an officer, I would, in casual conversation, would ask people, "What do you think I do in a given day? What are my responsibilities?" And almost everyone got it wrong. They just assumed I drove around all day, and I don't know if you're familiar with Andy Griffith's show when Barney, the deputy, who was a kind of a goof. He would walk around with one bullet in his gun. That's all they allowed him to have was one bullet.
Wow.
So I think a lot of people think I had one bullet, and I didn't write any tickets, and I, quote, just harassed people. It was far, far from that. On a given day, I could be making 3-4 arrests for various offenses, whether it's domestic violence or drunk driving or some type of theft. And I wrote a lot of tickets. I'll be the first one. Because when you write tickets, that's where you get your good arrests from. You pull somebody over, and you might realize he has warrants for his arrest.
Yeah.
So I could write up to 30 tickets a day, sometimes more,
Wow.
sometimes less, but 30 tickets
Mostly
a day.
like spitting.
Speeding, and it's not a speed trap. If you're just sitting there minding your business and somebody decides to do 30 over the speed limit, I'm not trapping you. You're the one that put your foot on the pedal.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that is true, though.
So I don't like that terminology at all because, but yeah, I would stop somebody on a traffic stop and do the usual process, and they would bounce back with a warrant for their arrest for maybe homicide or something out of a different city.
Yeah, something will pop up.
Very gratifying. Very gratifying. So how was that? Always an adventure. Not always as crazy as people think.
Okay.
It was quiet sometimes. When I worked midnights, there's nothing better than midnights in the wintertime. It's snowing.
Okay.
You got the city lights, and it's just quiet, and you're thinking, oh, this is awesome.
So I was a community service officer, and I was training at night. And so I was in the car with this other guy, and then we just happened to pass by this guy that just crashed his vehicle into a pole in a neighborhood, and he was getting out of the car and he was drunk.
Of course he was.
That was insane.
Yeah. And that's but how'd you feel about that? Because I always thought I've done that several times. If you're out and about enough, you're bound to stumble on something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
And so you stumble upon it, and you feel that you are put in that position for a reason. I firmly believe that. People have asked me, well, how'd you handle it? How'd you not, PTSD and all the other
Yeah.
factors?
How you?
I really believe this, that it's. I was put in that position because other people couldn't handle that position.
Mm-hmm.
No, I had bad days. Don't get me wrong. I had days where I cried.
Did it affect your mental health a lot?
No, I lost very little sleep because I thought this is what I'm here to do, and it's better me do it than that person over there, who it will ruin their life if they saw what I saw.
Yeah, that's the thing, though.
It's true.
Because you would encounter the difference between good and evil. You have your role to play, and that was to make sure that people respect the laws and law and order. That was your job, to help at least in contributing to society in that role. But at the end, you still need to go home to your family, to your little kids at night. But after maybe you've been in a shooting during the day, or you've seen dead bodies, or you visited a home where there were abused kids, and that's the disconnect that you need to be able to make at that point.
Yeah, I've been able to do that. I've been fortunate. I think part of it it's feeling fortunate, feeling blessed. I thought of it as a great privilege to police a community that my relatives were in, my friends were in, that store owner, I may not have known them personally, but I knew them well enough to take ownership of that. This person is a clerk in the store where I buy milk. It wasn't just some disconnect. This was personal to me. You want to mess with somebody that I care about or a neighborhood that I care about, well, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
And I took that very personally. So when the stuff did come up, and it came up often enough where, I look back and I really believe it was just a matter of me looking at this going, there's not, and this is delicate because I don't want to sound arrogant.
Yeah.
There's not a better person to do this than me. Not that guy over there, not that girl over there. This is me. I'm here to control the scene. I am here to make sure it doesn't get worse. I've said that 1,000 times in my career. Don't make it worse.
Yeah.
And I am here to make sure that these people can go to bed at night and put their head on their pillows and feel safe. And you're right, I have to go home to my family. Right. My family members are worried about me.
For sure.
They still worry about me. My kids, there's plenty of nights where they heard the sirens and they would say,
They wonder.
I wonder if that's Dad. But I think in the process, I taught them a huge sense of responsibility for the society. You got to give back. And for all these people out there that are, I'm trying to be careful, who are jumping off from buildings with a bungee and doing all this other stuff to get an adrenaline dump, you know what? Why don't you save your money and do something good for society instead of seeking a personal thrill? Yeah. Why don't you sign up for the police academy? Why don't you be a firefighter? Why don't you be EMS and give something back instead of looking for the adrenaline dump and something that means nothing? That means nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, I jumped off a plane once.
Just once? Yes. Was it flying or was it on the ground?
Was it flying? And I wanted to do bungee jumping too, but now, see?
Yeah.
Oh, man, it make me feel useless.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, no, what you said, though, you said it's me. So when you say this, it has like really something deep because in your heart that was your purpose. It's like I've been put on this earth to do this. That's what I'm meant to do. And if we had people in other professions, in teachers, in any other function you put in society as a public service, if everybody would think like this, how much better would society be?
I totally agree. And it's not only is this my purpose, I believe that anything that you do is your purpose. It may be a season. You could be working at Chipotle, and that's your purpose for that season of life.
Totally.
And I think if you lose sight of that, you start getting bitter, and you start doing things that arguably shouldn't be doing. And when it comes to, because every job, every occupation, again, whether it's Chipotle, a police officer, whatever the job might be, that is God's way, in my opinion, of giving what you need here on this earth. Because God isn't going to manifest himself in a bodily form and say, here's your Chipotle. He's not. He's got to put something in form, in substance, to give that to you. So he's put the Chipotle worker there to give you your burrito. I know it sounds kind of trite, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that's what I told him. So he's a great server. And when he does his job, he tries to make an experience for the people that go there.
Yeah, I mean,
And I told them it's not, people might think that is the meaning to serving other people, but actually, as I mentioned other times, I said, God is the first one who serves. Therefore, you should not be ashamed to serve.
Not at all.
Oh, totally.
And you can tell your experience yourself.
It's
with
the
your
yeah,
work.
like, I mean, whatever I do, I just try my best, to put the whole effort, and those people pay me. Like, those people come for the experience as well, right? So
Yeah.
I want to give my whole heart if I'm there, because if I don't, I just don't feel good, you know?
That's wonderful. That's you do everything with all your might,
Yeah, totally.
and I don't care if it's playing American football. I don't care if it's
Yeah,
doing your
there's
job.
plenty other things, like everybody has their different, you know, things to do.
Their strengths and
Yeah,
they have their
and, like,
different. Yeah.
no matter what job is that, I think like the effort and like power you put, it has a meaning. Like other people see that.
And there is no higher calling than serving your fellow man, and that's lost in today's culture.
Yeah.
And serving your fellow man is defined in various ways, but it's definitely being a server at a restaurant. You're serving your fellow man. I mean, literally, but you're doing a service for them.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about your attitude is that, in turn, I'm giving you my hard-earned money. So there has to be some expectation.
Yeah, totally.
You know, there has to be an expectation. If I'm giving you, if I go out with my wife, I'm dropping $100 on a dinner. There has to be some expectation that that was worth
receive something.
Yeah,
right?
I was satisfied with
because you're
that.
paying for certain.
And when you don't
service.
show up at the table, and my
you
Diet
don't
Coke or
care.
my glass of beer is not refilled,
Yeah.
or my food is cold. Again, I've never taken it on the server because there's all these variables that talk about, you know,
For sure.
is it your fault or
Yeah.
somebody else's fault? But there's an expectation, just like there's an expectation if you order something through Amazon, when you get something delivered to the house, if it's not what you wanted, or if it's
Totally.
if it's broken, why on earth would you just say,
Yeah,
that's
totally.
fine, that's cool?
Yeah,
I don't do that there, and I'm not going to do it at a restaurant.
Totally.
This is what I ordered. I want it hot, and I want it on time, and I want to be able
Mm-hmm.
to talk to you.
you want the attitude.
I want
Yeah.
you to make it a special night, because
Mm-hmm.
as much as going out to eat has become a norm, you don't know who you're serving, man, and that could be
totally.
the only dinner they go out to the entire year.
Exactly.
And that's really, I mean, we go out to eat quite a bit. You know, I'm at an age where I have disposable income, but I still expect that experience to be, if you're giving me the vibe that I'm bothering you, I will literally get up and walk out and say, you know, I don't need this. I'll find somebody
totally.
who wants to
Yeah,
be
totally,
who
yeah.
wants to be part of this experience with me.
I just don't like when people work certain jobs and they're not happy because they don't want to be there. So just don't be there.
Just don't be there.
Just find something different,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And if you're not happy with your experience, or just maybe improve yourself or search for school,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Move forward. If you can't, I understand if you're working at a place that you don't want to be at. I understand completely that, you know, you can't just quit, especially if you have family. But do something to move in that
To
direction.
move on, yeah.
You know,
if you're not happy.
Like you said,
where you're doing.
school or something. And I'd like to think I've done that my whole life, where, you know, okay, I'm not ecstatic about this, or the reason I'm working where I'm working right now is that I wasn't happy where I was,
Yeah, and you just moved on.
and I changed jobs at a fairly late age, which was, in most people's estimation, not a big deal. But when you get to my age, you start going, it's a big deal, because everybody that's younger has the ability to make up for a mistake. The older you get, the less chance you have.
But you should never undermine the weight of the experience that you bring, because you have accumulated so many years and seen many things and faced so many challenges that the young person there, even if he has all the qualification, has not lived the experiences that you have. So there is a certain value to your experience and to your age in that case.
I would hope so. Speaking from my experience,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that don't have that attitude, and that's what's sad.
Yeah.
That's it's the opposite of me looking at somebody younger going, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. It's the opposite of that. Looking at me and going, he's beyond his threshold of usefulness. That's not the way it should be. You want me to treat you with respect. And not that you are, but let's just say somebody who's 20, who's 40 years younger than I am. You want me to treat you with respect, then I would expect the same. You value my experience, and I value who you are as a person, and what you're about to do. And I can lend a hand to that. I don't think it's that difficult. I think the huge problem in the world today, maybe especially this country, is that there's arrogance amongst people that think they're always better than the person next to them.
Yes.
and disrespecting in that regard. And I don't know how to, frankly, I don't know how to fix it. I do know that I've seen enough in my day to know that there's this weird segregation thing, not just between races,
Yep.
but between intelligence, between social status, between a multitude of things.
There is a focus on identity nowadays, and narcissism is one of the greatest things that is around today, in a bad sense, of course.
Yeah. Well, you see the music, especially, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see a lot of it in the current music. Everything is about me. You look back 30 years and nobody's singing about themselves. Everybody's singing about life experience or the love of their wife, or they're singing about the trees, and now everybody's singing about them.
People are very selfish currently.
Yeah.
They don't look for other people. They don't care.
No.
Not everybody for sure.
Yeah.
But like overall people. And
Yeah.
like, what can I get from this thing? You know what I mean?
And it's a difficult society to live in when everybody's so inward focused, as opposed to being focused outward and looking at what you can do. You know, the John F. Kennedy line: "Ask not what you can do for your country. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." To some degree, that translates to today: ask not what everybody can do for you. Ask what you can do for others. And that's extremely difficult.
Well,
to
we
wrap
come
your
back
mind
to
around.
serving.
You do. And it's hard because we're not necessarily built for that. It takes an effort. And when everything around you is pointing the other direction, and when everything around you is telling you, look out for yourself.
Well, when you live in a society where they tell you that whatever thing that is going bad in your life is not your fault, it's somebody else's fault for your mistakes, for your inadequacies, even if it's your own fault, there's not enough self-reflection.
Yeah. And
I mean, humility, I would say.
humility is huge, but, you know, I'll never forget Bill Clinton. I'll never forget this. It could have started around then. I think lack of humility has been a problem with the human condition for a long time. But Bill Clinton stood back in whenever he was president, 1980.
98? 98?
98, maybe. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah,
I've lost track of all time and space. But he sat there in front of a group of people, and he looked at the camera, and he was getting some type of award or some kind of congratulatory thing. And he said, "I'm the most humble man on the face of the earth." You're not. You're announcing to millions of people that you're humble. You don't even know the definition of humility.
Yeah.
And I for people not to see that and understand that, I think that's an intrinsic problem. You don't understand the virtue of humility. You don't understand the idea that it's not always about you, and you can always put yourself second. And if you feel that you've done something good, you don't have to announce it.
Well, you don't do it for applause.
Some people do.
Yeah, I
they
mean,
want to hear.
Well,
They want to.
it gets back to your to the social media and to today's culture.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's doing it for a like. They're doing it for a comment. They're doing it for some type of reaction.
Well, even if you see people at the restaurant, they just come to take a picture and show other people where they are and what they eat, for example.
Yeah.
And they don't care about if food gets cold. They don't care.
Oh, it's funny
They just
that
want
you
to have a
said that.
picture. It's true.
It's funny that you said that. I'm going to be vague about this because I don't want to bring somebody into this. I know someone who has a child, and the child was heartbroken that the relatives would never show up at her events at school. So these people who were close to her would show up, take a selfie, post it on Facebook, and leave. 5 minutes. That's it.
Oh, jeez.
And that was, how horrible is that? Just to say, look, we were there. We were there. Instead of spending a few extra minutes with this person. And just to take the event in and show true support. Wow. Because now, what does that smack of? That smacks of nothing but being self-absorbed. I need to show the world that I'm a good relative.
Yeah, but is this the biggest buffoonery of modern times? Social media, indeed, but everybody wants to up everybody else on something. So you see everybody's shown happy.
Yeah.
So, and people behind the screens that maybe don't have a fortunate life, they think, oh, look at them having fun the
They're
whole
jealous.
time. And they will just be miserable
Yeah. Yeah.
and be anxious about it.
And I know this from my police experience and from my maybe life experience. I would go to these houses, and these houses were considered arguably mansions, and they have Van Goghs on the wall, and they have silver spoons in the drawer.
Oh.
But I get there, and the guy is downstairs. The man of the house is downstairs, and he's weeping and sobbing, and I ask him what's going on. It's almost like a movie from the 40s, something from Orson Welles, where everything is dark, the drapes are shut. The house on the outside looks amazing, manicured, big front lawn, and the guy's weeping and sobbing downstairs. And I ask him what's going on. He goes, "I hate my wife, and I think she's trying to kill me."
Oh,
so I go
God.
upstairs, and after interviewing her and talking to her, and she's agitated and escalated, and I find a knife between the mattresses that she's about to kill this guy with if I wasn't there. So my point is that on the outside, everything looked great. It looked fantastic. But people are hurting, and they're horrible, in a horrible place. Most people I know, not my immediate circle, most people I know are unhappy. Mm-hmm. They're looking for purpose. They're looking for something that doesn't make their life seem hopeless. And that's why they're
Even
buying
if they have
stuff.
material success.
Even if they have material success. That's why you're buying the new vehicles all the time. That's why you're going on these vacations. That's why you're doing all these things
To try to make yourself happy.
to try to make yourself happy, and it makes you happy for that short time, doesn't it?
Exactly.
You buy that new car, and that's pretty awesome for about a month.
Yeah.
And then it kind of fizzles out.
But then you come back to the reality.
The reality of, okay, what's next? And that's why you see debt so high. I believe that. That's why you see credit card debt so high. Is from
Drugs as
like
well.
Average American drugs.
Drugs, like
Drugs, alcohol.
yeah.
Well, everybody tries to numb themselves in a way or another.
Yeah.
People are looking
To-
for this something special because they're
Yeah.
bored.
But it's not there. It's not out there. You need to find it inside of you, I think.
Mhm.
Well, I think you need to, which circles back to what we said a few minutes ago. If you're self-absorbed and looking for something, arguably maybe you should be reflective and looking to help somebody instead of helping yourself trying to find meaning. If I help Benito in his time of need, whatever that might be, that is far more fulfilling than buying that new car.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think most people realize that.
Yeah.
They get a glimpse of it every now and then. They'll donate to a homeless shelter and they'll feel good, and then that feeling leaves them, and then they go do what they've been doing. I do believe that helping others would help people fill that hole in their heart.
For sure.
Yeah. I just don't think we have enough of that. I think we have people
Volunteers.
volunteer in any way. I think we have people very self-absorbed. When I say volunteer too, it doesn't have to be some big, magnificent. It can just be your immediate circle. Are you a loving husband?
Yeah.
Are you a loving father?
What's your attitude?
Right. And what are you doing to improve the person that you're with? How are you sharpening that person's sword as they sharpen yours?
Totally.
Am I a good friend? Am I a good boss?
Mm-hmm.
Am I doing what I can to make these people happy and to make them prosper? If my focus is something else, then I'm failing. And it because of who we are, we do fail at that.
Well, but
We get selfish.
But in a way or another, if you do these things to other people, eventually these good things that you do will come back to you at the same time.
Generally speaking, it
Yeah.
does. And even if it doesn't, though,
But if you do it without expectations,
you do it without
Yes.
expectation.
Yeah.
But if I do something for somebody, and this is probably what a lot of people have experienced, that's why they don't do this, is they run up against the wall. I do something for you, and I didn't even get a thank you.
Yeah,
And so
that's
they
true.
stop doing it. And
Appreciation.
and appreciation is good, but it's not the motive. It shouldn't be the motive. The motive is I just want to help because you're a fellow human being who's struggling or needs direction or needs a whatever. And I think most people they look for that feedback to fill the hole, so they're missing the point. The feedback doesn't fill the hole. The act of kindness fills the hole. Leave it at that. Don't look for anything after you donate the money, after you work at the soup kitchen. leave it at that. Don't look for something. Don't look for something in the mail saying, thank you for
Yeah.
doing this. That's irrelevant. And that's hard
true.
for people because we're always looking for
Something, right?
something.
Yeah. Mhm.
We're always looking for
So
something.
Charlie, we didn't plan this, but he has a Aston Villa jacket.
I saw that. I already know this.
I was telling him that we played FIFA and I picked the Aston Villa and you Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, wait.
And I won.
He
Yeah.
won.
Well, that
Yeah.
goes to show Villa's on a roll. They're on a roll in every aspect, video games and in real life.
Yeah,
Have
it's
you ever-
crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoy Villa though. Villa's good. It's
You said you've been to the game.
I've been to one, and you know I get to England. Let's just say once every couple of years. My wife's English, and my father-in-law took me to a match against Crystal Palace.
Okay.
And I thought of all, you like to have a name that kind of is imposing. And Crystal Palace, what is that?
Yeah.
But well, they're in the I think they're in the Championship League now. I think they got to
Premier League?
They got
Yeah.
relegated last
Really?
year.
Yeah.
I'm not
yeah,
sure
it
about
might.
that.
So, but I went to that, and I noticed that being in person, the speed was much quicker, and it was most Americans. No matter how much they try to shove it down our throats, ever since I was a child, they were telling me soccer's
It's
better
the
learn how
future.
to play. It's the future. And I kept telling him, no, I don't see it. And
No,
Not here.
The country's so big,
Yeah.
and there's so many other sports.
so many other options.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other options. And when you look at arguably per capita, now I wouldn't say that obviously in Europe, college football is, you could argue, is the second biggest sport in this country.
Oh, for sure.
College football.
Second to what?
The NFL.
The NFL, okay.
So college football is the second biggest sport in this country. When you have the University of Michigan selling out a stadium of almost 130,000 continuously
Yep.
every
That is
Saturday.
the same if you go to Vikings game.
Yep.
The tickets are not cheap, but it's full.
It's always full.
It's always
but,
full.
But you look at what's funny is that you look at college football is more popular here than I could argue than soccer is in England. Now I say that reservedly because I haven't taken any. There's no empirical evidence to show that.
Oh, soccer is everything
It's
in
why,
Europe.
but college football here, you could argue it's really,
Oh, for
really,
sure.
really not important. It's
Irrelevant.
It can be, soccer here can be, I think, it can improve if they just put a better product on the. I went to what do you call it?
The
Is
MLS?
United.
The Loons game, the
The Minnesota United.
Minnesota United.
Yeah, that's the,
Oh my word! Just I thought I was had sedatives in my system because it was so slow.
Yeah, so
the quality is not the same.
It's
So
not.
we have different divisions in the Serie A in Italy. So you have Serie A, Serie B, B Series, C Series, and on and on and on. So the MLS will be comparable to a C Series in the Italian Championship.
Yeah.
So the level is very low because there is a different pool of talents and they don't throw that much money at it like they do in Europe.
Yeah. So you're trying to sell that here, though. You know what I mean? You're trying to.
Man, they brought Messi.
Yeah, yeah. You're trying to. You have world class athletes here. You have pituitary giants with LeBron James and whatnot. They're dunking basketballs. You have guys that are sprinting. You have people hitting baseballs 450 feet. Incredible feats of athleticism, and then you're trying to sell a league that just I don't
By
see
bringing old athletes,
by
right?
bringing older athletes in to sell it, and then I don't think I hesitate saying this because it sounds odd, maybe, but they haven't Americanized it. What I mean by that is that you go to a soccer game, and often they sell English food, or they have remnants of English food, and maybe that's because English fans go to American soccer games, and then they have English announcers. I go, it just seems kind of.
They had English coach too.
It sounds pandering.
Yeah, so I went to his work, to a restaurant to eat, and I met the
main coach,
the coach of the Minnesota United.
Uh-oh.
And tell him who is it from? Where is it
So
from?
he's from England,
Oh, there you go.
and
He
used to-
was.
well, he's not coach anymore.
Yeah.
He's been sacked.
Well, but it's such a nice guy. I really like him a lot. I don't know where is he now. He was living around here, But he was coach, I think, since the beginning, since they started,
That would make sense. And
like 5 years.
He played for City.
He played for Manchester City, for Everton. So such a experienced
Wow.
soccer player. So phenomenal career.
and I don't know if I have a problem with bringing in the people that really know what they're doing to teach the Americans. I don't know if I have a problem with that, but it just seems like they're almost pandering to Americans. Look, there's a British coach, and we have British food, and everybody has to wear a scarf. We're Americans. We don't wear scarves to events. We just don't. And they they do that kind of stuff. It's like, no, well, what? I understand that's not necessarily bad, but it's almost like it's forced upon. And I think that's one thing that turns off a lot of Americans. I don't do the scarf thing. I don't understand that language barrier, the accent. You can hear people talking that way. I'm not saying they're right, but I can kind of can we somehow
Make it.
less like we're taking something from somebody and make it our own? I'm not sure how you can do that, but I think it would sell better if we did.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
know?
Well, the same thing. Like you will never have an caliber championship like the NBA in Europe, even
No.
if you got very good players there as well. So they always win at the Olympics. I mean, they're the champions.
Yeah, they're it's an
It's a
interesting
big deal
take, though.
here.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
a big deal.
And I have nothing against American soccer. I have at it. But I get myself in some trouble with this comment. In my opinion, American MLS is watching a league that. Why would I pay for a league that is not as entertaining or athletic? It's very similar to the WNBA. It's very similar to leagues of that nature, where you go.
Well, I don't think that low now. Come on.
No.
Sorry, WNBA players.
I went to the game at WNBA.
Did you?
He was the only one sitting in the
No, but actually, like if you compare to the NBA, when it's the full venue, for WNBA, they open just like couple.
Yeah.
Do you know the NBA subsidizes the WNBA?
Yeah, I knew that.
That's crazy.
But the issue I have is that my wife, if I haven't said it already, she's wonderful. She said, "Well, it's just different. It's just different. It's not worse." And I'd say, "No, it's the same, and it's worse. It's not." And referring to what you said earlier, people generally speaking don't want to see it. And if you want parity, the women to have equal pay and whatnot, then the women need to get off their couches and go to the games.
Exactly, absolutely.
But they're not interested either.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So you're running into this weird dilemma of, I want to see them succeed. I'm not saying they shouldn't succeed.
Well, whenever somebody complains about it, ask them, name me 5 WNBA players. And see what they say.
You're right.
Nobody will be able to tell you anything.
They might be able to name one from like 10 years ago. Like
but
Lisa
it's-
Leslie, somebody like that. If I'm not even sure she's playing anymore. I don't even know.
If it doesn't bring revenue, you cannot make the comparison between the wage gap.
all the social media, the followers in pumping.
Yeah.
You know, it's just different story.
Same thing for when the United States, the ladies complained that they didn't get equal treatment as the males. Apparently, they want to be more equal than the males because the male player from the USA, they were getting their insurance and benefits from their clubs because they were playing in Europe, and they were paid like a pay-to-play structure, and they offered the same plan to the female, but they said, no, we want the benefits and we want a salary on top of this. And they refused to pay to play. Then they changed their mind. And now apparently they make so much more money than the male counterparts. And the male, nobody complains about that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's
That's for soccer, yeah.
You don't ever want to come across as saying that the females aren't capable of doing something. That's not my point at all.
Oh, no. But
You know?
then when you know that the U15 team from Dallas played against them and won 5-2,
Right.
you say, well, yeah, there is a difference there. So
Yeah.
not to be
There's nothing wrong with acknowledging the difference either.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. I think we're in a culture again that it's so self-serving that everybody thinks they've got something to offer. And you know what? I'm almost 6'5". I'm okay at basketball, but just because I'm almost 6'5" doesn't mean I'm great at basketball.
Yeah.
I know my limitations. You know, I do some things well and some things not well, and that's okay. I don't have to always be comparing myself to somebody else. And if you want a league that does their thing, fine, but the rhetoric behind it, I think, is turning a lot of people off. Mm-hmm. You want to do your thing as female athletes? Have at it. Nobody would ever think that was a bad thing. But this constant jaw popping you're hearing, I think that turns off a lot of fans.
It does.
You know,
well, not to
prospective fans.
Well, not to mention the politicization. How you say? Politicization.
How about politicizing?
Politicizing in sports.
Yeah.
Like the NBA, the NFL, and all those players, they take the knee. And we talked about this
Taylor
the other
Swift.
day.
Oh, geez.
Well,
don't start me.
We'll go there because he has very good. He has gems about that.
All right.
Jeez.
So keep politics out of sports.
Well, I told you before that Bill Burr, who's in my opinion an amazing comedian, said he understands the problems in the world. He's a thinking man.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to sit in an NFL game and have people hold up signs to people who have been affected by cancer. You know, they're holding up pink signs with ribbons saying, you know, underneath the sign it says Betty, my mom, or something. Bill Burr says, you know, I just want to watch a game. I watch a game to get away
From all of that. Yeah.
And can't you give me 2 hours of just mindless entertainment instead of worrying about tsunamis, cancer, earthquakes, polio, whatever else you got to offer?
Yeah.
Just let me watch a game. And I think most Americans actually feel that way because you see a small shift. I've said before that everything goes in cycles. You know, again, I hate coffee, or coffee's bad for you, coffee's great for you. Don't drink wine. Have a glass of wine. Everything goes in cycles, and I think we're shifting away from that right now. I think Taylor Swift in the stands has turned off a lot of people. There's a lot of blowback about that from fans regarding the NFL.
Well, because they just show that.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on.
I mean, it shows.
And he actually is not doing well, Kelsey.
No, he's not. He's not doing Kelsey like. He's doing well, but he's not Travis Kelsey.
Well, yeah.
It's just all like marketing influence.
It is, and it's all driven by that. And isn't that again for the average person who's thinking? Don't you think we can see that? Don't you think that we know you're flashing to the NFL? The NFL is flashing to Taylor Swift, so you can get a certain segment of the population to watch.
New audience.
A new audience. Don't you think we know that? And it's demeaning, and it's pandering, and it's condescending that you do that.
Like the same what happened with those Stanley Cups.
Yep.
Like they just announced to younger audience, and then you have 600 million revenue more.
And I understand it's a business. I get that. But I don't watch a game. I couldn't care. I literally couldn't care less about Taylor Swift. And I don't want to hear about cancer when I'm watching a football game. It's there. I know it's there. My father died of cancer. I don't need to be reminded of it. I'm in it. I've been it. I've lived it. Leave me alone for 2 hours. I don't need the pop star. Even halftime shows get on my nerves. I don't. Just let me watch football.
I think Taylor Swift cannot be accused to be a good musician.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
She's the best marketer of the.
Oh, for sure.
She's a gigantic. She's huge, but
she's the best marketing tool
totally
ever.
It's not terrific.
She's and young ladies, young women, look at her as a business genius. I can't argue that point.
There's a class. Excuse me. There's a class at Harvard about Taylor Swift.
No, I
so you're gonna pay $50,000 a year to go and attend the class.
No, just look at people who live at the stadium for 5 months to get to the concert first. Like, look at this. This is beyond. Like,
okay, I want to know. You guys are the music experts here.
So,
qualitatively, can you tell me if there's people that are better? They're less known.
She's an alright musician, but she's nothing good. And I think beyond a certain level.
I struggle with two things. The first thing I struggle with is her pandering again. She puts out one album with 6 different covers and maybe a song remix, and she sells that. That's her business side coming out. The problem is she's catering to teenage girls who ultimately don't have disposable income, so they go to who? They go to their parents. So I don't appreciate the fact that I've got somebody who's making tens of millions of dollars on the backs of a 15-year-old girl. The second problem I have, I have 3 problems. The second problem I have, because I think that's just being a money whore, to be frank. That's not showing ethics. It's showing you want money at all costs, and that really bothers me. The second problem, I'm tired of a 30-something-year-old musician, in quotes.
35, apparently.
35-year-old musician singing about 15-year-old angst at a party, or singing about breaking up with a boyfriend. Will you grow up? Most 35-year-olds have degrees, they have children, they have families, and you're singing about what a 16-year-old is going through on a daily basis. I find that to be weird. Taylor Swift is a woman that it's the girl in high school that all she talked about was horses or ponies. All right? There's no life experience. All she talks about is ponies. And all this woman talks about is breaking up and having relationships that fail. Jared Allen once said, the defensive end for the Vikings, said she's either a liar about all these relationship songs or she's loose. I'll use that word as opposed to what he said. So she's either lying about everything, because you can't have that many relationships, or she's getting around. And that's the image we want for a 15-year-old? That's what we want?
No.
She's a machine to make money. I mean,
she's a machine.
Like, most likely she has people writing songs for her, teaching her how to sing it.
Yeah.
And
she doesn't seem
that's
like,
how it works.
And she doesn't, I hate to say this, because I don't think I've ever seen her in an interview, but she doesn't seem like a bad human being. Somebody is close to me that's younger says, well, she donates a lot of money. Well, glory, hallelujah. That's what you're supposed to be doing. I'm not going to give you credit for showing up for work and then
she's a billionaire
and doing the right thing and doing the right thing. I'm going to give you credit for doing the right. That's you should already be doing that. Why am I giving you credit for donating money to the soup kitchen when you're making billions of dollars?
Billions, totally.
And off the backs of all these people again. I wish she would just. I have a lot of records. I'm a music guy, a lot of vinyl records, and I will not have one of those things in my house. It's not because of musicianship necessarily. It's more about principle with me. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to contribute to this frenzy. And what people forget is that this is going to be a somber tone here, but you're going to be dead and gone. In 50 years, nobody's going to know who you are. I don't care. The Beatles are a great example. The Beatles, John Lennon said they're bigger than Jesus Christ. All right. If you ask the average 15-year-old, 20-year-old now, name the 4 Beatles, and they can't do it. It's a slow process that you're going to be forgotten about. Nobody's going to remember. So again, keep yourself humble. Don't think too highly of yourself.
Yeah, but why everybody remembers Mozart, Bach, Beethoven?
Not everybody. Not everybody.
You know?
Not everybody. That's true.
Back in the day, maybe, but over time, you're seeing them fewer and fewer percent. I don't know. I would love to do a study on this. What percentage of the population, Bach's my favorite, what percentage of the population knows who Bach is today as opposed to 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 150 years? I'd be
totally different.
I'd be willing to bet that it's less now.
Oh, for sure. Like many people, they don't know about Chopin. They don't know. Who was that?
Yeah, Tchaikovsky, they have no idea.
Well, but if you're a connoisseur of classics, that's why they're called classics, because they have no time. They're timeless.
Well,
technically. But if you see, like, average audience now, there's less and less people going to opera, for example, to orchestra. Like, I mean, I've been to this business for a little bit, and like, this is less business, less work. People are having regular jobs to can afford life, and then they sing opera after hours, you know.
But do you think, again, is that, I find it telling that when I have my stepkids who listen to, they're pretty varied in music to their credit, and they'll listen to something and there's a sample taken from Mozart. You know, Mozart's in the background and the guy starts rapping to something.
Those, I think, Dies Irae.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's actually
many of those.
Yeah. And a lot of music nowadays has samples within. And my stepkids often don't. They think, oh, this is cool. And then I play it, and they go, it was first back here. And I'm finding that that's how they're exposed to the classics. They're exposed to the classics through people sampling in their songs and having nuggets of this music, even from the 60s, 70s.
Also, this is hard music to perform. It's not easy.
Right.
Like if you now have even Ed Sheeran, he plays 4 chords and that's it.
Yeah.
Plus all the machines helping with the voice to put it up, to cover, to help it sound better.
Yeah.
Back in the day, there was no such a thing.
You can say back in the day, there's a YouTube video someplace floating around out there that has, you familiar with Eric Burdon and the Animals, the group? House of the Rising Sun. We got to get out of this place. And Eric Burdon didn't have auto-tune. Didn't have any of that stuff.
Nothing of those.
And you know, you have those reaction videos where somebody hears something for the first time and then they react to it. And these people were shocked, and to the point of being stunned that Eric Burdon had this voice without any of that nonsense. And because it's not found today. I'm a big Frank Sinatra fan, not just because I'm a bit older, is that Frank Sinatra sings a song. And people go, I don't get it. What's the big deal with Frank Sinatra? I have probably 40 of his albums. Frank Sinatra sings a song better than anyone has ever sung it. And I mean that.
Michael Bublé.
Bublé, but compare Bublé to even Sinatra. Compare who's the other guy.
You cannot compare.
Compare, who's that big crooner guy? Out and about. Any crooner from today. Robbie Williams from England.
I like him. I grew up with Robbie Williams.
Robbie Williams he's good, but listen to.
Was he in a band? Was he?
He's in a boy band. Yeah, something.
Backstreet Boys.
No. I don't know.
I forgot it was.
I forgot too.
Robbie Williams sings. You ever hear the song "When I Was 17, It Was a Very Good Year"? And then he goes to 21. Then he goes to 28. And he talks about his life basically. Listen to Robbie Williams singing that song. And he does a nice job.
Yeah.
And listen to Frank Sinatra sing that song. Frank Sinatra is feeling that song. He is feeling it. It comes out of his pores. And Robbie Williams is singing it well. Technically well. But Frank Sinatra owns it. That's the difference between somebody like Frank Sinatra and Michael Bublé, who is very good. That's the difference between Bocelli and other people. You can feel it.
You never compared to
you
Sinatra.
used to sing opera, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Frank Sinatra, New York. This is my karaoke song.
Yeah,
always.
is it?
Yeah. I admire this man so much, and like his like vocal skills. You don't compare to anyone. It's just unique.
He's unique, and I said when he sings,
I don't know if there will be anybody like that anymore.
You know what's again? It's not as, unless you're an aficionado, it's not as boom in your face.
Yeah.
It's much more subtle. You listen to it and you go, there's something about this. And with Sinatra, is what he does is that later in life he became almost a caricature of himself. He was, being from New York, he had the accent, and when he was singing, the accent was coming out more. And he was a bit heavier, and his voice wasn't quite there. And he became almost a caricature. It's like Charlie Chaplin.
I don't know if the smoking and the drinking had
smoking
something
and drinking.
to
Oh,
do.
sure did. He was a party
with his voice.
Party animal. But you look at Charlie Chaplin. You look at John Wayne. You look at people that became caricatures that people imitate. Marilyn Monroe. When you take them as Frank Sinatra, when you take those people aside and you look at Marilyn Monroe, and you look at her movies and you look at what she's doing, it's special. All that.
Oh man, Elvis.
All that Elvis.
Oh my
There's another one.
goodness.
It's special. That's a great one. It's special. All that is special. Sinatra is special. Charlie Chaplin is special. When you make him a shell of himself by imitating him all the time, and it does a disservice to those people trying to get to know him. You look at Elvis and you go, he's just some fat guy wearing weird clothes. Man, he was so much more than that.
Did you watch the movie?
I did, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But all these people that you named, they were the first at doing what they were doing. So there was nothing before.
Yeah, plus you didn't have this like
rock
technology.
And roll. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Now if you go to the concert, there is the guy in the back with
Yeah.
all the machines and all the settings to
Yeah.
make you sound better. And then artists stop singing, but you hear that still it keeps going.
I say the same
track.
thing about Led Zeppelin, or early rock and roll. I'm a Zeppelin guy. And people forget, too, that was in the late 60s, all right? So you're coming from having the Beatles just kind of came on the scene, and then you had parents or older adults, people in their 30s, that they grew up listening to Andy Williams. They grew up listening to Frank Sinatra. And then Led Zeppelin comes on the scene and says, nope, we're doing this.
Oh, that's a complete shock.
Complete shock. And I think it's lost its impact over time. And that's why they're so special, because they put stuff out there that nobody would dream of doing. Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin. The Beatles were great in their own right, but they just moved forward, I think, from what was happening with the pop scene 10 years prior. Led Zeppelin destroyed everything and said, no, we're going to completely break away and do this. And I find that really compelling. So when you listen to their music, I always say, listen to somebody from 1967. Picture the 1967 guy. Okay, he's 40 years old. So he's born in 1937. And he's listened to vaudeville. He's listened to, again, Andy Williams and Perry Como and Frank Sinatra. And now he's 40. He's relatively young. And he's sitting there listening to Led Zeppelin. That's crazy.
Oh man, yeah.
Now we're used to it now.
Yeah.
We're used to it now.
I also love Bonnie Raitt.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Last time I was listening to she was performing live, and she was that time like 70 something, but she still keeps going.
She was very popular maybe 25 years ago. She had a
90s, 2000. She had a concert in Minneapolis last year.
Did she?
I wanted to go, but the tickets were like starting from 900 up.
Tickets nowadays too. Again, I look at
it was
that
like very small venue, like a theater. I don't know how she performs now. I mean, she's like 80.
She's got to be at least 80. At least 80.
So it's like hard to imagine, but
yeah, I have a regret because I try to go to live music. My favorite band is Clutch, and I've seen them and got front row, and they're small enough. They're not known enough to sell out a large venue. I shouldn't say that, but for like a First Avenue type, they can sell out.
Okay.
But I wanted to see Gordon Lightfoot. And they were coming downtown. He was coming downtown a few years ago, and I said, "Oh, we'll just miss it this time. We'll go see him some other time." And then he dies.
Oh, no.
And I felt bad about that.
So what's your favorite concerts you've been to?
Well, Clutch by far is. You get a chance. They are the keepers of rock and roll. They are badass, and I was front row for that. And I enjoy. From a modern music perspective, I enjoy. I enjoy everything from ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, to I love the Moody Blues.
Well, you own 1,100 albums?
Yeah, I'm approaching 12 now, bud.
1,200? So you listen to them all.
Yeah, listen. I never put one away without listening to it.
But and then the thing is that you can see, you have the chronology of it. You can see the time since, how far did they go?
My oldest album is an original Dave Brubeck jazz from 1955, I think.
So you pretty much went through the entire pretty much evolution of music until nowadays. Yeah. So what's the differences that you can catch from back then to today? Leave aside that music is a product of the society we live in at the same time too, to a certain extent.
Are they all vinyls or?
All vinyl. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm running out of space.
I guess.
my if you don't mind.
Yeah.
My wife. Back in the day, maybe 6 years ago or so, coming from England, she got a bunch of vinyl records, 45s. And she says, let's listen to these. I said, fantastic, kind of took me back to days.
That's how it started?
Yeah. And then we went to a record store and I bought some, 99-cent records that were all scratched up and stuff. And then she said, you know what? If we're going to do this, let's do this right, which was not the right thing to say to me. It's like, well, blank check, here you go. So I went out and bought a nice sound system, and we just started buying records, and it's our downtime.
So she's into it too.
Oh, very much so.
Okay, good.
Yeah, very much so. She's
Good.
It's our hobby. I mean, I have
You
a lot
got
of
support.
complete support. We
Yeah,
have a
that's
room
good.
dedicated to it.
That's good.
So
That's
it's not. There's no TV in the room. There's nothing distracting. We put the record on, and listen to it. And as I said earlier, anything we buy, we listen to all the way through. So I'll go to a record store and I might go, "Oh, this looks familiar. Maybe this might be okay," and I'll pick it up and listen to it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's downtime, and there's a reason for vinyl, in my opinion. You can't listen to vinyl when you're working out. You can't listen to vinyl in your car.
Yeah.
You need to
Focus on
sit
that.
down and focus on that.
That's awesome.
So it's not pretentious. A lot of people, well, that's pretentious. It's not pretentious. It forces you to relax.
You give all your attention.
all your energy to that.
Yeah.
And then
Same when
know,
you go live for the concert.
It's yeah. Over time, what I've seen evolve, which I find intriguing, is that music. If I my stepkids, I use them as an example quite a bit. All right, they are listening to music from 1960, maybe like the Byrds or the Band of America. All right, so that was 40 to 50 years before they were born. Okay.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when I was, let's just say 16, all right, so that was 1978. Oh my gosh, that was 1978. Would I listen to music from 1938? The answer
Wow.
is absolutely not. I wouldn't,
Yeah.
because it was different. But the kids nowadays are eating this stuff up. So I think music has crossed a threshold of being universally accepted, almost any genre, for the first time in human history. I really think that.
Well, there's more. I mean, there's more availability of it.
Yeah,
It's more music.
It's available, and it's that helps. But I think you may agree that there's availability to quantum theory too, but people aren't Googling it to find out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
there's information all over the place, but for some reason, music has been able to bridge generational gaps. I think the current music, I'm going to sound so old when I say this, I think it's lacking. I think I compare a lot of rap to disco. And that is, it has the same beat. Most of the people can't sing. There's very few instruments.
4 chords, 3 chords.
And the lyrics are horribly, not all the time. I mean, I love Eminem. I think he's in some ways brilliant.
He was from Detroit,
He
right?
was, yeah, that's a whole
Yeah,
story behind
that's a
that,
big
too.
deal there.
It's a big deal.
Oh, I want to know the story.
I'll tell you the story in a second. All right. And I think that what I do with my stepkids is that we try to. It doesn't happen every day. We try to exchange music, a YouTube video. So my wife, so we all exchange music. So you listen to this, I listen to this, you listen to
Nice.
that, and we get doesn't matter what it is, and no judgment.
awesome.
You can say I didn't really like this, but you can't say, oh, that sucked. You have to be
Respectful.
respectful and what do you call it when you try to give somebody
Constructive.
constructive? Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Try to be constructive about it.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And my stepson sent a video to lyrics to me, and I was listening to his rap, and he's into rap, and I'm okay with that. And the words were, "Have you ever been to Italy eating Italian?" And it went on from there. And I thought, this is horrible. With that being said, I respect the fact that he sent it to me, and he broadened my horizons. But I think that kind of epitomized what I think of a lot of modern music. It's not creative enough to, you can't really compare the genres.
You tell me the 90s hip hop or R&B was the best.
I think it was far better.
Yeah.
I think it was far better. And so you compare Bach to, let's say, Bach it off, that what Bach did to Have You Ever Been to Italy Eating Italian?
Yeah.
And you think, what have we succumbed to? What are we thinking is wonderful? What?
Yeah.
What?
What happened?
But
Yeah.
also, most of the melodies were kind of discovered already. Like Ed Sheeran, he was accused of like copying.
Yeah.
But it's like you have certain amount of chords you can use, and like you can mix and match them. And sometimes it might be pretty much the same melody because it is how the piano is built or the instrument. So like, I don't know, like if there's that much room for something innovation.
I get it completely. Well, Led Zeppelin, they really admit that a lot of Howling Wolf and a lot of his material, they took a lot of the early blues and they made it their own. And the argument with Zeppelin is they didn't give those people any credit. I mean, it's obviously,
yeah, for sure. Like you can seek for like some different techniques.
Oh
maybe.
yeah. But you listen to Zeppelin, and I love Zeppelin.
Oh, they're so good.
But then, what's that band? Greta Van Fleet completely ripped off Zeppelin, completely ripped them off. And Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin said, "Oh, how dare they?" Blah 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 blah. And I thought, dude, I love you, but you completely ripped off early blues people. And I don't like Greta Van Fleet so much, but you listen to Greta Van Fleet, I think it's Highway Song. If you didn't know any better, you would say that's Zeppelin. It's so reminiscent of Zeppelin. But you can't complain. Like you said, there's only so much room. How many more things can you do before you run out of combinations?
Exactly.
Not
that many actually.
Yeah.
Like you have 88 keys and there is like limited space.
So, and remember back in the day when Vanilla Ice did Ice Ice Baby? Bum, bum, bum,
how many others copied that?
Well, and he was accused of stealing it from Queen.
Oh yeah.
And he argued that there was a missing note. Instead of going bum 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 bum, it went bum 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 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think he lost anyway.
Oh,
but my point is, it's been going on forever. There's people
like
ripping
certain
off other
pattern.
People. But I think a lot of modern music is, and the other issue I have, which I think I touched on the first 2 minutes, was that I'm tired of people singing about themselves and how great they are, and look at me, look at my gold, look at my teeth, look at my grill, look at my ride, look at my crib. I am so tired of that.
Bling bling.
And that's why I go back to Frank Sinatra.
Oh yeah.
When he puts out, most of his albums are concept albums where he broke up with somebody, so the album's called No One Cares. Uh-huh. And every song in the album, you could feel that he just broke up with somebody.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. And it's about him, kind of, but he's not singing about him. He is singing
directly.
He's not saying, "Look at me, Frank." He's saying, "I'm feeling what everybody feels in a given lifetime. Everybody gets hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm conveying this as a emotion that everybody can relate to." Which is different than a rapper who's singing about his gold grill that nobody else can relate to.
Yeah, that's true. So talking about emotions, you mentioned a few times that you've been blessed with a very happy relationship. And there's one thing that I believe that we're going downhill as a society is because people don't live in happy relationships or don't even make the effort to create good ones or make an effort to maintain good relationships. So what is your recipe for a happy relationship and for a successful marriage?
Well, first of all, I say this reservedly because I am divorced. My first relationship.
Well, I am too. And as much as I want to beat myself down that I failed already, and somebody can come at you and say, you cannot tell me anything about relationship because you failed and you've been divorced.
Come on. No.
However, yeah, I failed. I know something about it. I know the mistakes I made and I can visualize what could I have done better. Yeah. Now I know better.
Yeah, with age comes wisdom too.
Yes.
But maybe the problem was with that person as well. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say it's...
People change.
51% is my fault, I say, always.
Makes sense.
Well, you're actually touching on... As I've gotten older, I've learned enough to, I think, have some key points to figure this out. The first thing is that it's never 50-50 in the relationship. No. problem that I think the American culture has. You give 50%. We talked about reciprocation before.
Yeah.
If I give you something, you give something back.
Yeah.
And the problem is that it's never that way in a relationship. It's almost always somebody, it's 80-20, 90-10, 60-40.
Depending on the day.
On any given day. So I think it sets up relationships for failure when you're expecting 50-50. Because, okay, I made you dinner. Now, when we go to bed tonight, nookie. And I think that's a horrible way to look at a relationship. You know what I mean?
Nookie sounds like a Japanese term to say.
You can call it what you will. Every culture has the same thing.
No, never heard that. I'm going to steal that from you.
So,
what is that?
I think
Yoki?
Nookie. I think when you expect a favor later on because you've done something now is always bad. And I think that there's a general sense.
Well, no, but this is like we're exchanging something. I do this for you if you do that. It's like transactional. It shouldn't be like that.
It can't be transactional. And for me, the biggest, I think the biggest, there's a sense, and this is hard for people. I'm not saying I've done this and look at me, far from it. There's a sense with my wife right now that all those little things that may drive somebody else nuts, I'm not going to go into those with you. And there's not a lot, but there might be something. Maybe she, as a example, maybe she's a clutter bug, or maybe she chews with her mouth open, just something. I never look at that as being, oh my gosh, I don't want to be with you. Look at who does that. That's her little thing.
Yeah.
And it's a little thing that I cherish because nobody's perfect. And I look at that and I say, that is somebody who is doing something that is adorable, that is all these good things that she does. She cares for me. She loves me unconditionally. She lets me be me. And I'm going to worry about this small thing.
Well, the thing is that what you look for, you find.
It is.
You can find 100 negative things, but you can find 100 good things.
But what happens when you find the negative things? So this is what I found, is that if I find the fact that she, again, she doesn't do this. I'm just trying to give
an example. Just an example.
Let's just say she burns every single meal she cooks, all right? If that's the case, if you don't look at it rightly as almost like a cute little idiosyncrasy, then you start to resent it, and you start to build animosity, and you start to say, are you kidding me? You can't. How could you burn every single meal?
And you don't say it.
Yeah, you don't say it. You keep because you want her feelings.
That's lack of communication.
Yeah. And then the next thing, and that bleeds into, well, she just doesn't just burn dinner. She doesn't keep house. I hate to be pigeonholing what women are supposed to do, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then next thing this rolls, and I think over time, what age has taught me is that whatever she does, I've known her for over 10 years. I don't ever recall us raising our voice, yelling at each other.
Well, but the thing is, like, if we are a couple and we live in a household together, it's you and me as two different individuals. However, we work as a team.
Mm-hmm.
It's we.
It's your helpmate. It's not supposed to be. It's not your adversary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we do something to move forward together. Sometimes I bring the trash outside because you'll be busy doing something else, and sometimes you might be cooking. I may be cooking dinner or washing the plates because you're too tired. Yeah. I mean, it's just this giving without expecting anything in return.
It goes back to what we said.
Teamwork.
Yeah, exactly. Teamwork. Yeah. And the teamwork is it's a self-serve. It's self-serving. It's serving. It's not serving self. It's serving the other person. Mm-hmm. So and having the other person, you can't. I don't know if you could teach this, but everything that's important to me, she respects. Mm-hmm. Thanksgiving, because she's British. Thanksgiving for me is really important. It's an American holiday. And she knows that all the other holidays, because I have British friends and family here, kind of get taken over by Britishness. And that's okay. I'm not complaining about that. but she makes sure Thanksgiving is very special.
That's awesome.
And if there's something that is, that, vice versa, as far as if something is special to her, I make it a point to make sure that she's happy about, whether it's a TV show, whether it's having somebody over. I try to make sure that she's always doing what she loves to do, in spite of what I might think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, you say there's keys, or there's, maybe there's bullet points in a book that says do this, but ultimately I think it boils down to respect. This woman she does everything I could possibly, she has everything I could possibly ask for in a wife. Why on earth, how can I not respect that?
Mm-hmm.
And what I find a lot from my experience is that a marriage will start to break down when jealousy comes in. Mm-hmm. I won't go into great detail again, but I'll give you a great example. Mm-hmm. In my life, before I got married to my wife, my previous marriage, we had I had my own office, and my ex-wife came in and said, "Why do you get an office and I don't?" And it wasn't a joke. She wasn't like, "Oh, this is hilarious." And I thought, well, because wait, what? How do you answer that? And she was, she stayed a stay-at-home mom. That's a virtuous profession. But I thought, how can that not just decimate a relationship? That jealousy. Wow. How can it? Because it's not just that. That's the tip of the iceberg. There has to be something underneath that made you say that.
Well, maybe there's the underlying assumptions. And what do I get?
Yeah.
For example, you got this. What do I get?
Yeah, and if that's the case, again, are you looking, as opposed to having the other person, as opposed to coming into my office and saying, you know what, I love you so much, and I'm so proud of you for look, you have a really nice office. How much
can I use it sometimes?
Can I use it? Can I come over and maybe for some quiet time? Anything, but that came across as nothing but just horribly
pure jealousy.
Pure jealousy, which is never ever good in a relationship. Tell me when jealousy.
It's never good anyway.
It's never good anywhere. Now there's times if you're wondering what's going on with her or him, and you think that they're out and about messing around. Well, jealousy can be a tool to investigate, but rarely is it beneficial. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're Roman Catholic, if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the 7 deadly sins. Mm-hmm. And it's that for a reason. It's not good. So fostering this relationship, for me, it's easy. She lets me be me. I let her be her. We move forward in a cohesive unit, knowing that we're each other's helpmate. She doesn't undermine me, which everybody has push buttons. You may not even know what those are until you get older. A lot of people don't know until they're in their 40s and 50s, but there's push buttons. Why do I act this way for this thing? She understands my push buttons, and she knows that she knows how to word things. And if a button is pushed, she knows, okay, well, that's this button. And she's the only person I ever met, and I don't know if she can teach this, that can put her hand on my arm, and I automatically calm down. It's great, because she knows that dude just said something to my husband, and that dude's gonna get his jaw broke unless I calm my husband down.
Yeah.
And she knows me like a book, and
That's awesome.
I think that's just. But you got to spend time together too.
So what would you tell to young people nowadays about this?
I think quit being so self-absorbed, and I don't like the adage that
because nowadays the thought is that the grass on the other side is greener, and there is this fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out, but I think
FOMO.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The adage of I hear this on TV a lot. Marriage is such hard work. I don't think it is. If I had advice to young people right now, because we're talking to human brain developing, we're talking about a different generation now that seems to be maturing later, I would wait to get married. Nobody says you have to get married.
Well, the brain fully forms at 25.
Right. So I would tell people, I wouldn't tell them not to be in a relationship, but I would tell them, don't commit to something for life until
You're sure.
you're at. When I say sure, I struggle saying that too because, yeah, you're sure. How many times, I'm not speaking for you, but did you say, I'm in love, only later on to find out I wasn't really love?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
there is this honeymoon phase that lasts
Always.
about 9
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
After which all the magic fades away, and you get
Then
to
the
see
reality.
that person how they really are
Yeah.
once all the wild spirits have
Yeah.
like. Even if the wild spirits should never dissipate, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because
So,
I would say,
just-
I would really say though, Benito, I would say that if wait to get married, if that's wait to have a relationship. I don't, you know, you have 14-year-olds dating now. I think that's ludicrous. I think that you have to never, ever sacrifice what you know is right. So if you want somebody who's going to cherish and adore you, don't forget that. Because if this person isn't cherishing and adoring you, move on. If you're looking at one of your criteria, if you will, and that's a reasonable criteria, you should be cherished and adored. If you have another criteria of your number one, which is kind of relates to being cherished and adored, I said to my my wife back in the day when we were first talking, I said, I am not going to be second to your children, which actually makes me third or fourth because you have two kids. I'm not being fifth or sixth because your parents come in. I'm not being seventh because now your job comes in. And if you have animals, pets, I'm not going to be ninth, 10th, 11th, whatever the case might be. I am number one, and I have to be number one. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. And that's not arrogant, because when you're number one, all you want is the best for that person.
Yeah.
So when all these other things get in the way, you're unified. My previous relationships I've been someplace down the pecking order, and I vowed I would never return to that.
well, but the other thing is that today there's young people have so many options.
Yeah, but
You know what I'm saying? Like
they think they have options, but do they?
like dating apps are in.
Yeah.
People don't meet face to face anymore.
Well, I don't know.
You know what I mean, right?
I know, but I don't know if I agree at some point. I mean, I don't like dating apps from my perspective. I would rather meet somebody at the bar or from common friends or something.
I agree with that.
Because the dating apps now, they're kind of like contest of your picture.
Yeah.
Like whatever you put there, the
they
picture.
might not be real.
Exactly. And then you meet with somebody and this person looks completely different. But
Yeah, there's a lot of.
you just look at the picture and that's how you judge if you...
Well, here's a story for you. I met my wife on Match.com. Is it a dating app? Kind of. But you're right about the pictures. I got a lot of feedback on the profile that I had, and far too often it was shallow feedback. But I saw the picture of my wife, and she just, I didn't know I didn't pay attention about her being English. I didn't pay attention too much. But there was a kindness in her eyes, and she was hurt. And I found out later on that the picture was taken the day of her, that day her previous husband had decided to leave. And her mom and dad came over to console her, and apparently they took the picture. And it was a good picture. If you didn't look any deeper, you wouldn't see it in her eyes. So I agree with you from the perspective of you have to see people in reality. With that being
see how they behave.
see how they behave.
I mean, there's nothing wrong about dating apps if you use them properly, but...
Yeah, but I don't. But it's the old thing, you know. How do one of the biggest things you hear on social media is to know if the person is a good person. Go to a restaurant and see how they treat the waiter.
Oh, for sure.
And if they act like a knob with the waiter, then
Douchebag.
then
With the waiter.
then that tells you that person, if they're doing that with you, how are they going to treat? And that's why I always say too.
It's very
You
true.
have to assume. Wait.
Wait. So we're talking restaurant. We're talking waiter.
Yeah.
Should you pay on a first date? You
Yeah.
know, you don't even know
Yeah.
that person.
Yeah, I never not paid on a first date. That's a double negative, I know, but I always paid on a first date, even if
I think that's the rule.
even if the date was horrible.
But why is the? I mean, yeah, I pay, but like, why
Yeah.
is the rule?
I think there's some.
We're coming two people together, meeting up for the first time. Why shouldn't we share the burden of this first check?
Well, maybe it shows some kind of
it's not.
class.
I mean, maybe I
like,
say badly burden, but like, I don't know.
maybe it shows some sort of respect to women. I don't know.
That's actually a really good point. It shows respect. But keep in mind that before I met my wife, I dated. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
But you might
Before I
not
met
see,
my wife, it kind of
you might not see this person anymore.
Thank
That's the thing.
Well, but to leave the good impression.
Yeah, but you might.
Oh yeah.
You might.
So, but the point. I'm not saying this is why I did it.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, you're right.
But
yeah,
you
that's,
might.
That's illuminating. Yeah.
So I don't pay because it's not a great date. This person goes home. They call me 3 days later and go, "Look, I was just off. Russ, I'm really sorry."
Oh, well, nowadays they don't even call you anymore. They will ghost you.
Yeah, they'll ghost you.
Yeah.
But they call me. They say I was off. I'm really sorry. Can we get together again? And I say, okay, let's get together again. And for some reason, this evolves into a wonderful marriage. And the memory is, you didn't pay for the first date, you schmuck.
Ah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
There will be a sin. No. I was just putting out a different perspective. It's not like I would not.
I think in today, frankly, the dates that I had, let's just say 50%, the woman would said, "Do you mind if I pay for my own?" Because I think from a female's perspective, it lets them
But
off
this
the
shows,
obligation.
like, if you show me, like, you're willing to. No. I'll pay for everything.
But they don't feel that.
Yeah.
That lessens the obligation, though.
Yeah.
Interesting.
From the women's perspective, I have no ties to this guy. If I don't want to call him again, I have zero ties. He
Yeah.
didn't pay for my dinner. I'm done.
Yeah.
I think it shows like kind of like maybe your responsibilities. At some point that she might see you as like a responsible person and that you can, I don't know.
It could be a pride, just a basic, a pure pride thing.
Most women, I think, like as far as I talk to people, will be kind of disgusted when they had to pay for example.
Yeah, I know.
It's just the cultural thing.
It's, again, being that I'm in my 60s now, I don't see any other way of doing it. Somebody who is 20 may have a complete different perspective. But
Well, yeah, the idea that there's no more the outlook of having traditional gender roles where there's this, we live in this equality world nowadays where they both can.
But does it go back, Benito?
Some things are timeless. Though.
Some things are timeless.
Yeah.
Doesn't it go back to me wanting to pay only because it has nothing to do with me lording it over you? It has nothing to do with me showing my financial prowess. It has everything to show that it's kindness, and I want to do something for you. Again, I'm thinking outside of being selfish, and I'm sacrificing some greenbacks to pay for this because it's a nice thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't let me do that, then it just doesn't feel right to me.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you out because I'm traditional. All right, I asked out the girl. She goes to dinner with me. The least I can do after she spent time with me, because that's the way you look at it. It's not that, you're spending time with me. I'm looking at it. I'm fortunate to spend time with you. And that's a different way of looking at dating than a lot of dating today. A lot of dating today is, look at me, I'm all that, and you're privileged to spend time with me. I never looked at dating that way. Now, at the end of the date, I thought, well, that was a wreck. That was a dumpster fire, and I won't do that again. But I looked at it as an experience, not as a horrible moment that I didn't glean something from.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's very, very well put. My other thing is like, given your wide experience so far, you've gone through many changes in your life, and the change is one thing that people mostly try to. They're very resilient to change because it's difficult. So how did you face change in your life?
Yeah,
how would you maybe encourage some people that are going through difficult changes nowadays to?
That's a profound question because it's people are built differently and some are. I look at it like this. There's a Bible verse that says, summarizing, paraphrasing, that you are not going through anything that's not uncommon to man. So if you lose your job, men have lost their jobs, people have lost their jobs since beginning. You go through a relationship change, divorce.
Nothing uncommon.
Nothing uncommon.
Yes, but the worst thing that happened to you is the worst thing that happened to you.
Right. It happened to me, but if you lose perspective, it becomes all about you and woe is me. When I'm looking at this saying to myself, millions of people are going through what I'm going through right now.
But if you don't have that width of experience, you may think, "Oh my God, this is the end of the world."
Yeah, and believe me, I'm not holier than thou. There's days when I went through my turmoil that I looked up to the heavens and didn't scream, but it was, why? What's going on? What on earth is going on here that I have to go through all this? With that being said, I'm a firm believer that you are where you are for a reason, and you have to have hope. I think that without hope, and what is hope? You have to define hope. You have to have hope. So no matter how bad it gets, I mean, the worst thing a parent can go through is losing a child. You lose a child, what's the hope? You know, what is the hope? If you lose your job, what's the hope? And for me, the hope always circles back to there's a plan that is bigger than me that I am simply not aware of. And for me to despair implies I have no hope and I don't have faith in the plan. And I just got to keep making good decisions. And that's the key.
Yeah, but the thing is, when shit hits the fan, you go back to your center. Your center, what is your center? Your center is who you are, your values, your principles. So you go back to that. Most people don't even know who they are and don't have any principles or moral grounds to attach themselves to. So if somebody doesn't know what they're going through, what that is, they're having a hard time grappling with the situation.
I would say that that's the conundrum of the human condition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that but think about what you're saying, is that you're counting on yourself again. And I know not everybody has a faith to rely on, but if you count on yourself, you will fail because there's self-doubt that creeps in. There's all these things will creep in and you will despair. You will. And
but through solitude, you're going to aim and find something deeper. There will be faith.
Yeah, but through solitude, I mean, when you go through a difficult time, I've learned that your heart and your head aren't always where they should be. You have thoughts that you never had before. You have feelings that you never had before. And you're just trying to sift through all this to figure out, who am I? What's going on here? And so for me, it was knowing that, putting my feet on the floor every day, getting out of bed, knowing that even though I went through a phase of unemployment for a short time, that something was down the road. And I just didn't know when or where it was going to lead me. I had to have faith in that. And keep in mind, I'm coming from a place where I didn't have a lot of support when I went through my issues.
So again, you were by yourself.
I was by myself. And I don't know if there's my mom says this often. She goes, I don't know how you did it. And I don't want to get into great detail about what happened.
No.
It was a dark time. The average man would curl up in a ball in a field position in the corner and just start crying. And I get that. And I'm not saying that I didn't cry. But I knew that everybody's built differently. And part of me was ornery. I'm not going to let this defeat me. And I'm not going to, no matter what people say or what they think or the lies and the rumors and the gossip and all that, I am not going to let that knock me down. Some days were easier than others. And then I looked at it from a biblical perspective, and I'll never forget the story of Job. Job was supposed to be a man of God, and the devil says, let's, in so many words, again paraphrasing, let's tempt him, and let's put him to the test. So his house is destroyed, his livestock, which in essence is his is his bank account. His livestock is destroyed. His family is killed. His wife looks at him and screams, look at your God now. Why don't you curse God? And Job says, I'm not going to curse God. If Job can go through all that and not curse God and have faith in a plan, that was a huge crutch for me as far as moving forward after what I went through. Knowing that I still have a roof over my head, still have food in my stomach. Times are tough, but we'll figure this out. And I'm not going to, in my belief system, I'm not going to curse the man who has the plan. I have to have faith that tomorrow is another day. It's literally it's literally day by day. It's not. Well, you cannot look when things get dark. You cannot look more than, all right, what am I going to do tomorrow? Don't even think about what you're doing next week. Tomorrow I'm going to apply for this job and this job. I'm going to pay a couple bills, the bills I can pay, and I'm going to go to the gym, get some exercise so I stay strong in body. And then the next day you wake up and you go, okay, this is what I'm going to do. It was that way for a good year.
Yeah. It's really well put. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And you went through the same change. Like you moved from Europe to the United States. But the way you faced it was a different.
You gotta be strong.
Was a different change. How did you face that? Because you're very young.
Yeah.
You came here at 20, and many people nowadays at 20 haven't experienced anything like it.
You gotta definitely be strong and struggle with some stuff like language and other things, and try to meet people, be kind to other people. And
but what kept you going? That's my thing.
I would say the motivation, telling myself that I can do that and actually show myself that I can go through that and succeed.
In spite of what is swirling around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was me. In spite of what's going on all around me.
Just do your thing and do your best.
Do your best.
But the thing is that he went with the mentality, I'm going to create my path. I'm going to create my opportunities. So he didn't hope or linger or wish for
on luck, yeah.
But you had it in your mind.
For sure, you gotta have some sort of belief and little plan. But of course, everything will go probably different ways, right? But I would say that some direction you should have. Some of those.
And make maybe you would agree. It's what I notice when a lot of people go off the rails is when they're in a tough time and they start making bad decisions.
Oh yeah.
The person that's unemployed decides, you know what, I'm going to take this umbrella, for instance, from Target. I need an umbrella. I can't afford it. I'm taking it. Bad decision. You got arrested. You are now deeper in a hole.
Yeah.
Or I'm going through divorce. I need affection. I'm going to hire a prostitute. Then you get a venereal disease. Then you get all this. You see my point? You have to make as much as you can, make good decisions.
Totally.
Because otherwise you'll get deeper and deeper and deeper.
It's like a snowball. Yeah.
Right? I'm struggling with my relationship. So I'm going to go, my friends go, let's go out and get blasted, which I've never done in my life as far as purposely go out and get drunk.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I've never had a bit too much to drink, but I've never said to myself, let's go out and get drunk. But your friends call you and say, let's go out and get drunk, and you forget that woman. And then you go out, and then you get in your car and you drive, and you're arrested. And all that's just
poor
bad decisions.
Yeah.
And for young people, I would say that it may seem like the world is crashing down all around you, but
don't lose the hope.
Don't lose the hope, and don't lose the focus, and don't do anything stupid. Yeah. Anything that will change your life.
Totally.
And that's subjective, because this may be a good decision for this person, they think, because they don't have the background or the knowledge to know it's a bad decision. But count on wise counsel. There's no go to friends, go to family, count on people. Say, I'm thinking about doing this. Does this make any sense to you? I did that a lot. Calling people back in Michigan. My friend told me once, I was seeing somebody, and it was just a volatile relationship before I met my wife. Obviously, after I met my wife would be a bad thing. This is before I met my wife.
Okay, we're all good here.
And he said to me, he goes, I'm not afraid of what she is going to do. Like, she was volatile. I'm afraid of how you're going to respond to it and ruin your life.
Mm.
And that was a light bulb moment. But I sought counsel and broke that off, the next day.
That's great. Yeah.
Well, stuff happens. Like, we cannot take it personally.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just do the best.
And the more you try, the more you fail. And the next failure is the past failures are gonna help you figure out the future problems that you have, how to deal with it. Because you are not in a similar situation as you're right now, but you already went through hardship in your life. You've been there, even if you've been rock bottom, you know how that feels like. So be able to face the future in a different way.
Churchill's famous line was one of my mantras. If you're in hell, if you're walking in hell, keep going. Don't keep going, and eventually you're out the backside. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Or the Asian proverb of every journey starts with a single step. If you're going to go
the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Yeah, absolutely.
You got to keep on keeping on, and that's not easy for people. But it's almost like a Alcoholics Anonymous process. It's literally a day at a time. And that's because alcoholism is very similar to any trauma,
addiction,
any issue we're going through. You're waking up every day and you're fighting. You're fighting these feelings, and you're fighting these needs, and you're fighting the outside sources that are pressuring you and poking at you, saying, "Yeah, you can do this, or you can't do this, you can't do this." It's the same principle. You can take Alcoholics Anonymous to some degree and take their message and apply it toward your life. Just keep on going forward, one day at a time. Because it's especially in a world that just continuously pokes you, and most people want to see you fail.
Oh yes,
and that's why I learned a long time ago: don't tell people your problems, because.
But your successes though.
There's a lot of successes.
No. Your intentions, like, I'm going to do this and this. Don't tell anybody.
No, I would be careful. I'd be guarded. How's that? I would be guarded. I have a circle of friends I can speak to and confide with, and I learned a long time ago. The rest I shut down, because I'm not convinced they're happy for me when I succeed. I had a friend once tell me he was jealous of my success, and that's on top of, I'm not even speaking about my ex-wife. That was a friend who told me that he didn't want to come over anymore because of what I was experiencing in a good way.
It's a human nature.
It's human nature, and I don't ever want to be that guy. I'm always, one of the benefits of getting older is that I am so happy when people succeed and are happy.
Totally. Same here.
That's usually an older thing. Most young people don't get that. If you guys win the lottery tomorrow, there's not a jealous bone in my body. You guys have good relationships. I am happy for you. It took me a while to get to that. Not that I was jealous before. Maybe indifferent's a better word. But now I'm genuinely happy for you. You have a baby. I'm happy for you.
Totally.
I think that is a healthy mindset.
Yeah.
Nice.
You mentioned faith in many of your stories, and how good has been your relationship to God in this case?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And do you believe? Of course.
I believe strongly, and I think that my relationship has always been strong, and it's not about anything I do. It's not like, I know it's strong because I pray every day. I know it's strong because I give X amount of money to the church. I know it's strong because I have a feeling. I know it's strong because God promised to never leave me or forsake me.
So do you, nowadays, there's with passing time, people are becoming more secularized in a way or another. getting away from the religion, getting away from the scriptures. And if you don't believe in anything, you will believe in everything.
That's right. Yeah.
So do you associate the decay of society to a certain extent by getting away from religion or from God?
Yeah, I believe. I'm not going to go down the path of God as punishing.
Well, not in a preaching way, just in there is something though. There is like this sense of community, even if you want to take the spiritual out.
But there's a sense of, one of the stories that are mocked the most often is the
Jonah,
Jesus washing the feet of his disciples, and I think that is the lesson to be learned of humility and servanthood. And I think that we've lost that today. And you don't have to. I think there's two issues to talk about. One is actual faith in God, and the other one is belief in the moral principles that God has set forth. So faith in God, that's what I have.
Because that's where we get our morality in the end.
Most people don't agree with that, but I would agree with you. I'm totally on that.
Yeah,
most people think they set their own morality.
Right and wrong. Where do you get it from?
Right. That's why I had a big discussion with somebody, and I go, "Is murder wrong?" And they said, "Well, of course." I said, "Well, where'd you get that? What makes you believe that?" "Oh, my mom and dad taught me that." "Where do they get it from?" "Well, I'm assuming their parents taught them that." "Where do they get it from?" It has to come from somewhere. Stealing is wrong. Adultery is wrong. I can go on and on. So I think that if you look at the precepts put forth from a basic faith, and some of these basic faiths, whether you're Muslim or Christian or Buddhist, they're often related in this way. I'm not saying they're all equal or they all share the same belief system. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying, they're rooted in a sense of love and caring for your fellow man, often. And I think if you get away from that, that's the breaking down of society. You're talking about a lack of morality, and in spite of what people might think, love doesn't quantify, premarital sex as an example. Because again, love is subjective. What does that mean? I thought I loved her. 5 years later, you didn't really love her. You don't know what's going on. So that's a microcosm, I think, of a bigger thing. The bigger issue is that people are making they become their own gods.
Oh, yeah.
I make the morality what I want, when I want.
My truth.
My truth. What's convenient for me. So if I want to do something, I rationalize and do it. And often when that happens, they are not considering their fellow man. They're just not.
Yeah,
so
because
I want to steal this, so I'm going to steal it. But what about the guy that's going to get fired because you stole something from the store when he was on duty? I want to go to bed with this person. Okay, but what about the husband or the wife?
Yeah.
Well,
that doesn't matter. It's what I want to do. It's right because I want to do it.
But that's where there's a distortion of reality, because truth is objective, it's not subjective. Right. Because up is not down, war is not peace, and there is, we need to be careful about how we state our words, because you can shape reality in a way or another.
Well, you're seeing it happen all around you when you're talking... some truths that have been truths for centuries, millennials, are shifting now because people have made themselves their own God. It's all about them. If anything points us out, it's social media.
Oh yeah.
It's all about the person and
the circle.
I would argue that even the American religious system right now is lost its way, and most American denominations have fallen into the trap of being self-serving, and it's all about you.
That's true.
I feel this way, so therefore it must be true. Instead of saying, no, it's true because it says it's true. How you feel is irrelevant.
No, my issue with that, it's like you have factions. Like, my belief is better than yours. My God is better than yours. What we believe is different than you do. Yeah. So I don't like these. And I think to some extent, organized religion is made and led by men, and man is fallible in his own way,
Yep.
and he has greed, and he has feelings, and he has jealousy, and he has all those qualities that are completely human, and they can bring mistakes.
Right. So what's the core again? We'll get back to that question. What is the core? What is the core that when I ask the person, why is murder wrong? And he keeps going back through generations that, well, they all thought it was wrong. What's the core? And the core is God's word that every religion should be based on. What I'm finding lately is that most religions / denominations are moving away from God's word and becoming their own little gods because you know what? I can't be mean, and I can't not allow somebody into. What's an example I can give? I can't not allow this person into church, so therefore I'm just going to accept it because you know what? They're happy, but what does God's word say? I'm not going to. The church today is I'm not going to. I'm going to veer from God's word and not do and not. As an example, not condemn any type of sin. And people say, well, who are you to condemn? I am not doing the condemning. It says right here. I'm just reading what it says. This is God talking. This isn't me talking. This is God talking. Well, you can't say that. I'm doing it for your benefit. And I think a lot of modern religion, too, is coming across from a kind of Old Testament Jesus, if you will.
Well, there's the fallibility, the fallacy here is that there's so much bias, and everybody can equip themselves with parts of the scriptures in order to fit their ideology.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show an example with him. You were born and raised in a Roman Catholic institution.
Yeah, very Catholic family.
Yeah, and you have changed.
Yeah, a little bit.
Why have you changed?
It's a very tough question.
Yeah, and sometimes I wonder just to know.
May I ask a question or two that may prod your... Did you change because you thought it wasn't applicable to you?
I don't know. I mean, I was going to like the church community as well with like priests, and we were praying every Sunday, and we were meeting besides Sundays like with other people, and that was like very important thing, and we all believed. But then later on, like all those people around, they kind of spread it all over, and they kind of did their own thing. I went my own direction, and this environment in the music school, they were very like against God. So then I started like wondering, what am I doing? And I couldn't really show them that I believe, because then I would be excluded. And then it was like also like kind of snowball.
It's like today's universities.
Yeah. So there was, I think there was environment pressure at some point, plus lack of time maybe at some point, and like getting bored of.
Yeah, I think that there's a misunderstanding of what church or let's just use Christianity in this case, what Christianity is. And peer pressure is arguably the number one thing why people move away from their faith. And they feel that they have to have the answer for somebody who says, why do you go to church? And,
yeah, that's true.
It's difficult to answer somebody if you're not a theologian.
I'm not saying I don't believe anymore or something,
right,
but it's just different thing now than it used to be.
And
for sure.
Yeah, I can completely relate to what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand completely what you're saying, and I think that there's a pressure nowadays. I mean, if you really believe there's a God, and the one true God, you believe that, then you believe there's good. And if you believe there's good, it's implied you believe that there's evil. And if you believe there's evil, then you believe that what's the purpose of evil is to distract you and remove you from the good. And that's what's going on. It's been going on since Adam and Eve, and it's going to be going on
since the
forever.
end of time. Yeah, at the beginning of
Always,
times.
always.
Yeah,
so
it's a cycle.
For the person that has their little their community, your Catholic community, and you're moving forward and things seem good, and then the evil, and it's not an overstatement, the evil that comes in and says, we're going to distract you.
Totally.
And we're going to make you maybe doubt even and ask questions. The questions are good. I'm not saying you have to have a blind faith, but the distraction is part of the opposite plan of God. It's part
That's
of the, if you will, the devil's plan. The more people that he can distract and make feel as if it's not relevant anymore to them, that's very pleasing to the evil side.
Especially like the social media world now, it's like promoting, different values, I would say.
Yes.
So it's like harder to maintain this.
And
maybe.
it's hard to maintain it. It's hard to speak
Yeah.
the truth because, but again, throughout the Bible, it talks about persecution for those who believe. It talks about people being everything from murder to it's prophetic, to families being taken from them, to their livelihood being taken from them, to put it in modern day language, to bank accounts being seized. That's exactly what's happening now. If you speak up,
Yeah.
So
we cannot undermine the importance of science as well. So there has to be a balance between what evidence is, what religion is. So we can say that religion is the essence for our moral and spiritual development, but science still has the laws of nature are still the most tangible things that we find around us.
Yeah, but the laws of nature often are based on hypotheses that are continuously evolving, whereas you can argue God's word should never be evolving. God's word should be the U.S. Constitution, if you want to put it in layman's terms.
Yeah. In those terms, like, we have Earth, if we can look in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
Do you think there is just this little green and blue ball in the universe,
And that's it, huh?
or there is anything else in this vast?
Wow. If you have a grasp of science, and I'm kind of an astronomy buff. I don't have, I'm a novice. I like looking and exploring these things. The Hubble telescope is amazing to me. And you look at that, there's, I think Carl Sagan once said that there's more stars than grains of sand. And most people can't wrap their minds around that.
Even galaxies.
Right, galaxies.
So,
and you look at that and you go, okay. Now I go by the adage, by the principle of thought that we are God's masterpiece.
We cannot be the only accident, creation.
I'm not saying that.
You know what I mean?
I'm saying we're God's masterpiece. I am also saying that you have to define, because right now we have no evidence of anything else. So you can say the odds are that there's a bonito over there somewhere on another planet or something similar to you.
Yeah.
But we have no evidence of that. We don't have evidence of I don't think we have evidence of any type of organism yet. We think we see in rock and in soil, we see evidence that there was something there, but we still don't have that until we get to that day. Until we get to that day where I go, oh, there's life on another planet. Until we get there, we are it, because otherwise it's just a hypothesis.
How about extraterrestrial entities visiting?
You know what? It's like Bigfoot, man. Can't you take a picture of him when he's not blurry? Really? Every UFO picture I've ever seen is blurry. Doesn't make any sense. It could be 1,000 things.
Well, there's this fascination that we have. We want to believe that there is something out there.
Well, you want to, but I'm not convinced it's a good thing. I mean, what? So these people, these beings have been hovering around for at least 50 years, since the 1950s, 70 years. And we think that's a good thing. They're observing us. Again, it's like Bigfoot. But you please just stop. All right, it's the Loch Ness Monster. Okay, we've got one picture, and that's proven to be a fraud. And people still waste thousands of dollars trying to find it. Just leave it. You know what? If they want, if there's something out there, the government's not. I'm not a big conspiracist theory. I don't believe that you can tell multiple people something and everybody's quiet.
Well, 10 people can see something, and everybody can give you a different explanation for it.
Whether it's a JFK assassination or UFOs, you're inferring that dozens, if not hundreds, of people know something, and they're all staying quiet about it. From a law enforcement background, that ain't happening. Somebody's going to talk.
Interesting.
Yes.
So you mentioned that we are God's masterpiece.
Yeah.
You know what I don't like?
What's that?
That we want to destroy it.
We
Like
wanna
people,
destroy it?
people here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
That-
wars all over.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And it's a short-sighted view of
Perspective.
it's a short on perspective.
Maybe
Yeah.
we're not going to exist anymore in like 100 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Because people might just fight and just destroy them all
There
over.
is nothing to be said. You know, again, if you speak biblically, but from biblical perspective, we will exist until Christ returns. With that being said, it doesn't say that.
Well, I don't know if he wants to come back.
Yeah, he's gonna be. I don't know about this. I think that man's inhumanity toward man, as a police officer, I saw that all the time, and you see it every day in the news on larger scale, right? You just see people slaughtering other people. So I think that if you look at it from a, how are we going? We're God's masterpiece. If you don't believe that, if you don't have a foundation there that says we should treat each other with mutual respect, I don't care if you're transgendered, I don't care if you're white, yellow, blue, I don't care what you are. You treat the other person with kindness and respect.
Yeah, totally.
And you don't have to agree with what's going on,
For sure.
with what their belief system is. But I am stunned by the lack of dialogue that's happened in the last 10, 15 years. The lack of just common ground that we can meet. All these, referring back to the wars and whatnot. Really, you could send rockets and kill dozens of people. You can invade another country and kill hundreds, thousands of people. But again, it's part of who we are. We're greedy. We're selfish. We want what the other person has, and that's what fuels all of this.
Desire is one of the biggest things that can upset
It fuels
our
all of
existence.
this.
Yeah. So, talking to the biggest scheme of things. So, what are we here for? What's our purpose then? This is going to be our last question. So we just finished with a bang.
Big bang. Big bang. All right. If I go. Again, I'll keep referring and giving you a preamble to my answer. The purpose of a human being, and you can see that we've gotten away from this, and this is what causes the problems, the mess that we're in.
Yeah.
Is to fear and love God. That's it. Our devotion every day should be loving God. When we lose sight of that, everything else crumbles. From a layman's perspective, somebody without faith, why are we here?
Why are we here?
If you look at it without that, put that what I just said aside,
Yeah.
there's no answer to that.
There is, I think.
But it's going to be based on something else. I bet it's going to be based on something bigger. What do you think the answer is?
The answer is love.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. So what is that based on?
Love?
Who gave you love?
Well, the people closest to me.
Where did they get it from? And how do you know that? How do you know? The reason I'm saying this,
Like my kids, like they're my blood.
Right.
They're like, I saw them coming into this world, and there's nothing that could change that.
I can completely relate to that.
It's a bond that is, you cannot describe with words. It goes beyond anything and everything.
But okay, so I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
But God is love. That's where you get everything from. So when you say you love your kids, the idea is, thank you, God, for giving me my kids. You love God.
But what about purpose as well?
The whole purpose of life is to love God. That's it.
Can it be that you come on this earth to live your purpose and serve fellow men, giving away your God-given talents and do good in the world?
Your purpose is to serve your fellow man and to serve God. So again, whether you're a waiter, whether you're
It doesn't
in
matter.
police, you do every vocation. There's no shame in honest work.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every vocation is God-given. So the person going back to Chipotle, the person at Chipotle is part of God's plan just as much as the priest is part
But I
of
think
God's
maybe that Chipotle is your stepping stone for something better.
plan. Could
Yeah.
very well be. Could very well be.
Because you just see life as a building blocks upon which you make yourself better and you grow from it.
Totally agree. And so
Just
if you look at
start
it like this, God has put everything in place. Every person here is in place for a reason. So God forbid I have cancer. All right. I can pray. Wonderful. God, I need healing. But God is also, it's the old adage of the guy that's in the middle of a flood.
Yeah,
He's-
but we cannot forget that bad things happen to good people as well.
They do. And that's part of the faith mechanism that you say, this is happening to me, but I know that the outcome, there's a bigger picture here I can't see. But the guy that's on the roof in a flood who's praying out to God, send me a boat, send me a boat, send me a boat. And the helicopter comes, he goes, no, thank you. I'm waiting for my boat. That's kind of the situation that we go through every day. It's you are where you are. Don't be so closed-minded that you're not seeing what's in front of you. And sometimes it's right there. People say, how do you know there's a God? You don't have to read the Bible from the perspective of knowing there's God. Take a walk outside and look at, we're in it so we don't see it. Look at the trees, look at the valleys, look at the sky, look at the moon. We are so immune to seeing these things. We've lost perspective of how magnificent
we take it
they
for
are.
granted.
Yeah, that's true.
So what's right in front of us sometimes we ignore. So working at Chipotle is right in front of us. That's exactly where we should be. So the next boat or helicopter may come. Just be open to where it's taking you. You're fine with that.
That's true.
And I think that we get so hell-bent on heading in a direction that all these doors are swinging open on both sides of us, and we're not even paying attention to them. 'Cause we're going to that door. That door is locked, and it's not going to open. But we have to be susceptible and be open to the fact that things, sometimes you just need the quiet, and you need to go, okay, what am I doing here? And again, God has put people in your lives for wise counsel.
Sure.
And he's also put people, everybody here is for a reason, and which would help disarm wars, by the way, if we understood that better. Would you be killing somebody who you thought had a purpose, in spite of you not knowing the purpose?
But everybody wants to go back and kill baby Hitler.
That's true. Would you do it?
Well, if you have to save millions of life, or Stalin, I mean, what the hell? Or Mao,
Yeah,
those guys.
That's would you steal for a loaf of bread for your family? It's the same moral conundrum.
It is. It is.
Would you? Yeah, there's all kinds of those you could put forth. I personally, it's hard to wrap your mind around the fact that that's baby Hitler,
And you don't,
now you're going to kill him.
But
How are you going to wrap your mind
that's
around
the
that?
thing. Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Because your humanness would come out, and you go, what if it's not?
Yeah.
How you?
Maybe there's somebody else that is gonna take the same steps as he did. Who knows?
But there's plenty of people every day that think they're doing the right thing and it's wrong. They got their own little, if you will, they have their own little baby Hitlers in their lives, and they think that they're doing the right thing by tackling this problem, killing it, if you will, and it's just a bad decision.
Yeah. Well, we leave that to the judgment of people, trusting them they will do the right choices, and
We'll see how it goes.
this is a perfect way to end it.
It's a deep end.
No,
Thank you for the spiritual journey. It's been enlightening. We learned
Thank
so
you.
much, and from your experience, thank you for doing this. So you see, in the end, God might have put you here in this chair tonight.
Yeah.
This microphone.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
you're
you for
very welcome,
coming,
and thank you for the
and,
invitation.
looking forward to have you some other times. Who knows?
I'd
Yeah.
be more than happy to come on back.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys
All
for
right,
watching.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye.